All right, hey everybody. How are things going? Thank you all for the well wishes. I feel a little bit better today. Still not 100%, but much better than I was. All of the students, you guys sent me get well cards and things like that. That was very nice of you. I have set up, I'm just checking out the chat here. Nabir, you're a newcomer, yeah. And Bindia, hi. It's the first time I think I've seen your name come up. So if this is your first class, welcome. If I just missed you in previous chats, I'm sorry, but it's good to see you. Either way. Okay. Abir, hello, yes, you're new as well. So for any of the students who are new, if this is your first time coming to class, this is a free class. You can watch it for free, chat with everybody for free, but if you want extra lessons and help and feedback from me personally, one-on-one, you can become a premium subscriber, and I'll show you how to do that if you want. Let me see. Just bring up some websites here to share with you. If you want more information, Bindia, hi. Aaron, hi, welcome back. One of our premium subscribers there. And Rosa, of course, you're in all the classes. Thank you so much. Islam, hello, how are you? Wow, we have lots of new names. This is great. Happy to see everybody in here. So that link I just sent, I'll show you on my screen what that looks like. Let me just bring up our lessons here. So this is our Smrt Live class. You can try it free for a month with any of the Smrt Live teachers. This is Nicole. She's our pre-intermediate English teacher. She's awesome, so great. Mark, he teaches intermediate English. Neil, upper intermediate. And then me, of course, English for academic purposes. So you get, with the premium subscription, tests, you get quizzes, you get homework, feedback. Rosa, I think, shared on her Facebook, if you guys are Facebook friends, a clip from my homework feedback video, which is a little embarrassing. I don't know why. I'm always live here, but it's different when I have to watch myself pre-recorded. But it's great. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I really like to give detailed feedback because that's how we grow as English speakers, or writers, or readers. Of course, the best way to learn English is to do it in immersion. I mean, to immerse yourself in an English-speaking environment. If you can travel to Spokane here in the United States and study here in our classrooms, that's going to help you learn English the fastest and the most accurately. But if it's difficult to get a visa, or you don't have time to take that, few months and study English in America, then this is a good alternative. Islam, doing good. Good to hear it. I'm glad you're doing well. And Mubarak, hello, how are you? Your first lesson, welcome. Happy to have you here. Usually this class is on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which it's all different times all over the world where you guys are studying right now. Some of you are up very early, some of you are up very late. So thank you for being awake here with us. And it's always good to have you here. And Nora, hello, how are you? Good to have you. And Arfind, hello. Ronaldo from Brazil, awesome. Our owner, the owner of this college, is in Brazil right now, actually. He's gonna leave later on tonight to come visit us up here in Spokane, but right now he's down in Brazil. We have two wonderful Brazilian students here at this college, and it's so fun for me to get to learn so much about all these different cultures all over the world. I love tasting new foods and hearing jokes and learning about dances and all this cool stuff that's involved with culture. I really love my job. It's a very lucky job to have. Oh, Guadalupe, you're studying in Tampa, Florida? That's awesome. You should come up here if you're already in the United States. Come hang out in Spokane. It's a little colder, a little bit snowy, but it's a beautiful city and it's very affordable. We're doing a really good deal on tuition right now too. I'll show you a picture of our campus, what it looks like. Here's some of our university partners. You can see here, this is some of our university entrance packages and stuff. Trying to show you the video though. Pictures of Spokane. I'm gonna mute that, but Spokane's awesome. I love this city. Some of our university partners and their campuses. It's just really cool. Costco. Not the best photos of Spokane right there. And I don't even have them on the background. There you go. So lots of cool, interesting videos about Spokane. And I'll send you our application link too in the chat. Sol, hello, how are you? Good to have you in class. Where are you from, Sol? What's your home country? Or where are you studying right now? I'm gonna bring up the lesson here after I take attendance from our premium subscribers. Looks like almost everybody's logged in today. Okay. And for our premium subscribers, I have your homework corrections started. I should have those finished later this afternoon. All right. So last week we only met on Tuesday because of the Thanksgiving holiday here in America. All the colleges were closed. But we've been studying Chinese versus Western medicine. So lots of medical terminology. We changed our subject though a little bit. We started talking about the subject of poverty, a lot of the vocabulary that's associated with poverty. And, Zaid from KSA. How's it going, Zaid? Good to have you here. We have some students from Saudi Arabia at our college right now. Only a couple, so I don't get as much variety of kapsa as we used to share at lunch. But, oh, nice. Nitesh, you just signed up as a premium subscriber. Awesome. So glad to have you. Make sure you do your homework, and I'll start sending you those correction videos. This week we're also going to we're going to stay on the subject of poverty, and we're going to do reading and listening and writing. We might also have for our premium subscribers a quiz if we can cover enough material. So you'll get to test your English capabilities, which will be cool. So Nitesh, you'll get to do that also. So we talked about this reading, poverty in terms of academic reading, and we went over a lot of the vocabulary. It was mainly talking about vocabulary and the subject of poverty. What I want to do today, though, is start with a little bit of discussion about the reading, and then we're going to go back through paragraph by paragraph or section by section and talk about what is really being said in these academic writing samples. So we're going to just open up discussion in the chat, and premium subscribers, if you're logged in, you should be able to see these questions. Everybody else, I'll zoom in a little bit for you. But let's talk in the chat about these opinion type questions. So what do you think it means to be poor? What factors would you use to determine that one person is poor but another is not? Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you think, using a good English sentence in the chat if you can, what defines poverty? So what defines poverty? What makes a person poor? And as you guys are putting in your comments there, oh, awesome, Ricardo, you're from Bolivia. Very cool. I also have a student from Bolivia here right now. Her name is Escarlette, and she's an amazing student. I've learned so much about the culture in Bolivia, and she does some really cool stuff. So as we're opening up this conversation, you guys are kind of chatting and meeting each other and talking with each other. Think about this. What defines poverty? What makes someone poor? It's not really a very clear subject. It's kind of general, right? So let's try to define it. What is poverty? So feel free to contribute there. As you're doing that, I'm going to review some of the vocabulary words. So poverty is the noun, poor is the adjective, and we have a lot of related terms that connect to the subject of poverty. Okay. Bindia says lack of education. Yes, that is a subject that is related to poverty, and a person might be considered to be poor if they do not have access to good education. It's possible. Okay, Ingalls Law, the poor use money more than half of the income for food and renting a house. Yeah, if you're spending half your money or more for food, for your basic necessities, right? Food, water, protection, shelter, safety. That's a pretty clear sign of that someone might be experiencing poverty. Rosa says to be poor means you don't have access to basic goods and services like food, clothes, health, and education. Perfect definition, Rosa. I agree completely. Nitesh says man is unable to fulfill his desires and basic requirements. Also, great definition. Something I want to point out, though, about Nitesh's comment is in many languages, when we want to talk about people, right, human beings, men and women, we choose one pronoun. We just choose a singular pronoun, and we generalize it, right? A man. And I'll tell you, in English, we're sort of evolving out of that and into using more gender-neutral terms. So if I was writing an academic essay, I would not say the man is unable to fulfill his desires and basic requirements. I would say a person is unable to fulfill their. It's a little strange, but we do use the plural pronoun their, possessive, to make it gender neutral. So it's not he or she or his or her. We use the pluralization there. Person is unable to fulfill their basic needs and requirements. I might not say desires. Desire is something that is usually outside of needs, right? We have wants and needs. We can want one thing, but need something else. Someone who doesn't have a good social condition, Atal Deval, is that how I say your name? Yes, that's correct. Could be everything, says Abdul. Person is, just the word disposable here has another meaning when it comes, when it's used with income. Yes, good point, Rosa. That's an excellent comment. The collocation, and a collocation is a word we use in linguistics to mean two or more words that are commonly put together. Put off. Phrasal verbs are essentially collocations. Disposable income is one, and that's what Rose is talking about. What is a disposable income? Rosa or anybody, go ahead and answer me that question. What is a disposable income? What do I mean by that? Val. Okay, Val, you got it. All right. What is a disposable income? What does that mean, those two words together? Disposable generally is an opposite meaning of reusable. For example, I have a water bottle here, sealed up nice and tight because I'm in a studio, but here's my water bottle. This is reusable, right? If it was a plastic bottle, the kind you see sometimes in garbages and stuff, those are less friendly on the environment because they're disposable. unless we recycle them, we can't use them again and again and again and again. But a disposable income, since I don't see any answers right away there, is when you have enough money that you can buy fun things, right? You can buy extra things. Rosa was typing it right there. Perfect. Extra money that is left over after expenditures. It's a great definition. Chari, no, you're right on time. Don't worry about it. Perfect. We just got started. How are you, by the way? Good to have you in class. So disposable income is, when you have extra money after your expenditures. Expenditures are what you must pay. Food, electricity, water, that kind of thing. So this is good. We got the discussion going about poverty and what it means to be poor. So what is the situation with poverty in your country? Is it a visible problem? And what do you think is causing this situation in your country? So I'm going to answer about my country, the USA. And I'm going to say yes. Poverty exists in America. You can see poor people living on the streets in most major cities. Okay? So you can see poor people living on the street in most major cities. They do exist in Spokane. It's not as bad as bigger cities like LA and Seattle. Some parts of those cities are just so dirty because, people are living on the streets. They don't have adequate bathrooms or health care, and so they can be really, it can cause a lot of other problems, right? Health issues, things like that. All right. Hey, Carla from Mexico. Welcome. Happy to have you. First time here. We're very pleased that you came to class. So this is awesome. And yes, Chari, disposable is something you throw away after you use it. Okay, so how about you guys, your countries? I want to know. My question is, again, what is the situation of poverty in your country? Does it exist? Is there poverty? My guess is yes. In all of our countries, there probably is poverty. But if you disagree, tell me. Let's have a discussion as a class. So, Carla, in Mexico, do you see poverty? Who's my student from Bolivia? I'm sorry, there's a lot of chats in here, so I forgot who is living in Bolivia right now. Bindia, you're from Bangkok, Thailand. So is there poverty there? What does it look like? How do you know? And Rosa, you're in Algeria, right? I think. So what is the poverty situation there? Do you guys have a lot of poverty, little poverty? Chari, Aaron, how about your countries? Oh yeah, okay, Carla. Partners with Smrt from Tech Millennial. Awesome, that's so cool. I loved spending time down in Mexico when I was just down there. You should come up to the US and study with us here in Spokane. That'd be awesome. But yes, of course, it's good to have you in class. All right, so Assad, you say there's about 50 million people. Where? Which country are you talking about? For anyone who just showed up. Sol says, Sol's from Ecuador. Awesome, very cool country. But it does have a big problem of poverty. Lots of people living in the streets, and they lost their houses because of the earthquake in April. I'm so sorry for that. I've seen what earthquakes can do and damage countries. I lived and worked in Haiti for a while, and they had a big earthquake also. So I'm very sorry for that destruction. Yep, Carla says poverty in Mexico has been a constant. Yes, all of our countries, though, I would say, have degrees of poverty. In the United States, a lot of the poverty comes from just a lack of social systems and economic systems to keep things stable. There's an elite class of very wealthy people that don't always do the best things with their money. And also there's a lot of drug use too, drug and alcohol use in the States, which is not good. Bindita is actually from Myanmar. Oh, okay, but you're studying in Bangkok. Awesome. I want to travel to both of those places someday. Chari says, poverty is everywhere. It exists in my country, and nowadays the North, the situation is a little heavy due to the rain. Yeah, natural factors can increase or decrease poverty too, right? If there's not enough rain or too much rain, it can be a problem. Corruption, you say in Mexico? Yep, corruption exists in most countries. But yeah, it can be worse in certain areas. I know, some parts of Mexico are much less corrupt than other parts, just like USA. There's a lot more corruption in New York or LA than there is in Spokane. Spokane's relatively safe and not a lot of corruption. You can trust the police. They're there to protect you and keep you safe. So in general, it's easy here in Spokane. Wars, Rosa pointed out. Yes, wars create poverty, always. There has not been one war that I've ever learned about that did not create a lot of poverty as a result in one way or another. Okay, you want to share this video? It's about poverty. Yeah, okay. We can do a hangout after class. Oh, Aaron, okay. Shared the link in there, that's all right. Guadalupe says, I attribute poverty in Cuba to my government. Yeah, governments are often responsible for different aspects of poverty in a lot of ways too. I mean, it happens. So we've talked about what poverty is and the subject of it. You might ask, why this subject? Why are we talking about this? Because when you go into university, these are all conversations you will probably have in one way or another. Think about what we're talking about. We're talking about geography, right? The rain and natural factors, earthquakes, those sort of things, the topography can contribute to this. Governments, right? We take politics classes and learn about governments and history, learning past mistakes so that we do not make the same mistakes again and again. So this is a way to have a discussion where we are going to use academic language and learn about a very general topic that has a lot of specific branches to it. Okay. Assad, you say you live in Turkey and you have a lot of refugees. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of refugees throughout the world right now, and a lot that still can't find a place to go and escape any sort of obstacles that they're trying to flee. So this isn't the brightest subject. It can be a little sad sometimes, but I think it's so important that we have these conversations because the only way we're going to fix this, the only way we're going to eliminate poverty, eliminate hunger, eliminate corruption and poor governments is to talk about it, to learn, and to respectfully come up with academic papers and academic speeches to help people understand what changes need to be made. Okay, you guys are off on your own subjects there a little bit. I'll let you have that conversation while I start the reading for us. Nitesh says, poverty is abject, can only afford food 2 times a day instead of 3 times a day. I'm so sorry to hear that, Nitesh. That it makes me very sad. I wish I could send a bunch of food. Invite everybody to America. Come and eat at my house. And you're from India. Okay. Oh, Yusuf. I'm sorry, Assad. I misread your handle there, your name. Sorry, Yusuf. All right, I know now. Okay, so last week we went through this. We're going to reread some of it and talk about what each paragraph says. Talk about what is really being discussed. So as we're reading, I want you guys to make a few notes. Oftentimes, when you go into university or even in business, marketing, economics, you'll be given a lot of information. And you're not always going to have the time to be able to read all the information. So, especially if you're taking a test like TOEFL or IELTS, you're going to want to learn reading strategy so that you can find information quickly. We don't always have Google to just type in and search, right? So sometimes we have to use clues within the reading, and it also helps us when we look at academic writing. It helps us craft better essays of our own. So, okay, just making sure I'm not missing anybody's comments. Carlos from Brazil, what's up? How are you? I was just talking about Brazil at the beginning of the stream. I do care, Yusuf. Okay, so here's some strategies. Here's some things to help when we're looking at academic writing, if you're writing an essay, or academic reading, if you're reading someone else's essay. We want to preview and predict. Preview and predict. Preview is to look ahead, and predict is to make guesses, educated guesses, about what information is to come. We talked about this in a writing class earlier, where we looked at general statements and thesis statements. The general statement gives you a clue to what the paragraph is going to be about. All right. So Nitesh, good. I'm glad you're not a victim of poverty. That's very good. Okay, so we don't always have time to read a long text. And of course, if you can read the whole thing, it's always better. But we can try to get the basic idea by searching for keywords and not worrying about every tiny little word in an academic paper. So if there's a title or a headline, I mean, here's the title, right? Right within the lesson. This is the title of our lesson. We know it's about reading, and we got the subject here. That's what titles are for. They give us the basic idea. Anila, hola, how are you? It's good to have you here. Also, if something is highlighted, it usually won't be in academic writing. You won't see different colors. You won't see bold or crazy different sizes of fonts. But if there is something that's highlighted for some reason, it might be important. So if there's a title or a headline, be sure to read it carefully. And I can't stress this enough. My students sometimes will read the headline super quick and just try to skip down and keep reading to go fast. But slow down just a little bit when you first pick up a paper or first log on to a web page, and make sure you understand what you're reading. Do the same thing if you're ever taking a test. Read the questions 2 times if you got the chance, if you have the time, to really understand what is being asked of you. It's so important. Rosa, you said you had to print it to understand it. What do you mean print? Print the lesson, print your homework, and do you mean handwriting, or like type it and print it? I'm curious. If you see any pictures or section headings or tables or charts, they will probably be very important. Most academic reading and writing doesn't include a lot of photos or a lot of charts, depending on what you're studying. Maybe a chemistry book would have a lot of diagrams. But that's a strategy, is get the general idea of what we're going to learn about. And then skim the text. What does it mean to skim? Skimming is where you sort of search for keywords very quickly. You just go through the lines and look for proper nouns If you see a word that is capitalized, like a city or a name, it's probably important. Okay, the article. That's good. Yeah, Aaron, so you can use these tips when you're reading a newspaper, a magazine, a novel, anything really. So you skim the text for vocabulary such as names, capital letters, data. Data, remember, is like statistics, percentages, numbers. If anything is ever spelled out, like an acronym is probably important to figure out what that means. So you preview the text to get a general idea, and then you make notes of how the reading is organized. Does it look like an essay, or does it look like an infographic? How is the information presented to you? Are there lots of pictures or not a lot of pictures? Considering the audience is important too. This is another important strategy. Who is the audience? Who was this intended for? This can be very important. Throughout history, different academic works were created for different purposes. Sometimes there was a letter or an essay written with the intention of political leaders reading it. So sometimes it would be humorous in some ways to the general population because it would be intended to be insulting or critical of political systems. Yep, Nitesh, you got it exactly right. Skimming is done to get the general idea of the passage. Correct, you are correct. So think about your audience. Who was this written for? So how would you find that out? If you know your author and a little bit of history about the author, it can give you a better idea of why the paper was written. If you know that the paper was written by a student for their teacher, you can be assured that they're trying to write an academic paper for the purpose of practicing their skills, their writing skills, or to make an argument or prove a point. If it is written for Facebook, on a Facebook post, it's probably not going to be very serious, not going to be academic writing, and it might just be for that person's friends, so it makes a big difference. So we're going to read this passage, and this says to do so without stopping to look up unknown vocabulary words. This is true, you should do this. Generally speaking, if you are reading academic writing, and you get to a word that you don't know, it's a good strategy to just keep reading. Maybe make a note of it. If you have a printout like Rosa did, you could underline it or circle it. If you're working in a document like this, it's very convenient to just highlight and make a note. For example, I'll make, don't really need this, so this will remind me to delete it later. Let's say I'm going through my reading here, and I see a word that I don't understand, but I don't want to stop to come back. I don't want to stop and get a dictionary and look it up as I'm going. You can do this later on at home when you're studying. But let's say I'm reading this and I say, what is the situation with poverty in your country? Is it a visible problem? If I reach this word visible and I'm not quite sure, I can just make a quick note, like a question mark, and come back to it later. Google Docs is great for that. Or you can highlight the word, change the font color for it. And there's keyboard shortcuts that we could talk about, but you can change the font size or color. What I do is I just usually make it bold and then come back to it later if it's a word I do not know. But keep reading. And you might ask why. Why should I keep reading and not look up the word? Because there's a very important word that I want everyone to understand quite well. That word is context. Context is the aspect in which we are using the vocabulary word. And generally speaking, If you don't understand a word in a sentence, if you read the sentence before it and after it, you can get a general idea of what the word means, because we'll know many other associated words with it. So this can be really, really helpful and make your reading a lot quicker, a lot speedier than if you were to stop for every single word you do not know. Now, I do think it's a good idea to, like I said, make a note of it and come back to it later. Like at the end, when you're all done, go back and see which words you identified as words that you should look up later, just in case you weren't able to get the meaning out of the context. Okay, Rosa asks, I didn't understand the question. How the text is organized, types of text structure. Academic writing can come in many different forms. It's usually academic essays or a textbook or online publications and articles. But sometimes you'll see different versions of academic writing, like infographics are quite popular in academics. So lots of photos and sort of associations with a subject. Could be a presentation, like maybe you're making a Google presentation, slideshow for a presentation or a lecture or a TED Talk. So that might be a format where you have less text, but you still need to organize your information, written information. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you can look up synonyms as well. And Aaron, you asked about good tips for taking notes. We did a whole class. We did like 2 classes on note-taking skills and strategy. So if you go back to some of my earlier lessons, you'll find that. And we'll talk more about it later on. But there's a bunch of good information in my previous video. Okay, Rosa says she reads the whole text to get the main idea, and then after that she searches for the information she does not know. That is a great strategy, Rosa. That's being a very good student, so good job. Okay, so to practice this a little bit together, I'm not going to read every single paragraph because this is quite long, but I will read a few different sections and then we'll talk about the context and we'll ask questions if we don't know the words. So I'm going to start at the top here, our introduction paragraph, and we'll pause right here and discuss what we learned. So this is measurements of poverty in Canada. And if you want pronunciation practice, you can rewind this video later once it's published and no longer live and try to mimic my voice patterns, okay? Mimic my pronunciation. So measurements of poverty in Canada. Nearly anyone asked feels confident that they know what poverty is, what it looks like, which type of people are most likely to be afflicted by it. There's no denying that it is a negative condition that even the most conservative of politicians will agree must be dealt with and lessened as much as possible. Unfortunately, it is not always clear what poverty actually is, and trying to find a definition can seem as hard as dealing with the problem itself. There are a number of working definitions of poverty in Canada, but the best way to look at what poverty means is by looking at how organizations have created different methods of measuring the phenomena and the aspects that are considered. Only then can Canada's current situation regarding poverty and who Canada's poor are be fully discussed. Okay, Carlos, you have to leave. Goodbye, we'll miss you. You can watch the rest of the video later. Okay. Chari, you're asking, I read the whole text and get the main idea. Oh, Chari, you said that earlier. Okay. GRE passages. So yeah, this would help you with GREs a little bit. It's academic language, so possibly. If that answers your question, Nitesh. And okay, looks like I got everybody's questions answered there. If I miss one of your questions too, keep sending it in the chat. I will get them. if I happen to miss one, because a lot of people ask questions at the same time sometimes. So what did we learn here? What information, what words do you have questions about? So I'd like you to pick one or two words in here that you don't fully understand, and then we'll go a sentence before and after and see if we can make good guesses about the word. So don't look it up, don't Google it, don't use your dictionary right now. This is practice, right? I want you to find one or two words in here, just type them in the chat, and we'll talk about if we can discover the meaning from reading sentences before and after and learning from the context of the reading. Thank you very much. Yes, I am a native speaker. I grew up in Spokane, Washington my whole life. And I've been sick the last day, so my pronunciation isn't as great as it usually is, actually, but thank you for the compliment. So what words do you find in here that you want me to explain the definitions of? For example, do we all know afflicted? Is this a word you're familiar with? What does this word mean? Let's pretend I did not know the meaning of the word afflicted. So I'm going to try to read the sentence that it's in and the sentence after and see if we can make strong guesses. So nearly anyone asked feels confident that they know what poverty is, what it looks like, which type of people are most likely to be afflicted by it. So I can kind of look at the sentence itself. It's a passive clause at the end there. Be afflicted by it. And we know poverty is a negative thing, right? And we're describing what it looks like, what types of people are likely to be afflicted by it. So it's a passive sentence, but it's happening to types of people. So maybe something bad. Good, you guys are bringing up more words. Excellent. Let's read the sentence after it. There's no denying that it is a negative condition. Okay, so I don't really have to fully understand the exact definition of afflicted to make a strong guess from the context, what comes before and what comes after, to make a strong guess that this is some sort of verb that is negative. It's a bad thing. So I can just write a little note or highlight this and look it up later, but making a strong guess that it means something negative. Good. Upset, harmed, aspect, kind of. You guys are all in the right area. These are all words that are similar to the meaning. Afflicted is to be injured, harmed, damaged by something. It's a verb that has very negative meaning. Okay, and Guadalupe, you said lessened. Lessened. Was that your guess for a synonym for afflicted, or was that a word that you wanted explained more? I can't locate it in the paragraph. But if you want more of a definition for the word lessened, let me know. Or if you thought it was a synonym for afflicted, let me know. Nitesh says affect. Affect is similar, but affect could be positive or negative. Afflict is always negative. It always has that meaning of negative. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit more, and I am going to give you guys a little bit of time to try to read out loud to yourselves and practice your pronunciation. Let's just do this much here, okay? A little bit more. I'd like you to try to read this. Practice your pronunciation. Practice speaking this. And do it out loud. So even if you're alone in your house or at Starbucks or on the train, just quietly try to pronounce these words and see how you do. I'll be back in just 2 minutes. I'm going to give you some time to work on that. Okay, everybody, good job. That's excellent. So I hope you had a chance and opportunity there to practice your own pronunciation reading this out loud. I'm going to read it for you now. So if you weren't sure about the pronunciation of a word, you can hear it pronounced by a native speaker. So starting here. Given the task of describing what poor people look like, the image that springs to mind for most individuals might be that of a scene of sickly, starving children living in dirty conditions, lacking proper sanitation and housing. Perhaps it is that image that keeps Canadians away from the issue because that is not a scene painted in most areas in developed countries where poverty occurs. What is there is less visible and is based on deprivation and need. In Canada, poverty is linked far less to physical circumstance than a lack of income or too little income to sufficiently ensure people's basic needs are being met. Okay? So what is going on in that little section that we just read? What's being described is when most of us think poverty, we think, dirt floors and crumbling buildings and that kind of scene. This article was written about Canada, but it's exactly the same in the US. That's not what poverty looks like. I mean, there's dirty streets and sometimes garbage in the streets in some big cities like LA or Las Vegas. But poverty in developed countries, in nations with traditionally strong economies, can look a little different. It can be just a lack of income, lower middle class, and problems like healthcare. In most countries in the world, healthcare is very affordable, or I won't say that. I won't say most countries. In many countries, many developed countries in the world, healthcare is easier to access. In the U.S., it's a little more difficult. It's very expensive unless you have, student insurance or something like that. But that contributes to poverty. And sometimes that's true in Canada as well. The systems aren't perfect, and they can always be improved so that poverty doesn't exist at all. That's what we want, but it's just less visible. So, okay, we're talking about some of this vocab, and you guys are asking great questions. So keep the questions coming, please. Chari said lesson means decreased or dropped. Yes, all of those are similar words. You can't always use them and replace them one for one, but they are related in meaning. Rosa asks, I didn't understand what is meant by physically circumstances than a lack of income. Okay, so Rosa's talking about here in this sentence, in Canada, poverty is linked far less to physical circumstance. So this picture right here, Rosa, this photograph, is a physical circumstance, right? There's not a lot of shelter, no protection. There's not a lot of cleanliness in this photo, right? Everything here is kind of dirty and looks like you could easily be injured or get sick just from living in a place that doesn't have clean bathrooms and clean water. That's a huge one. Clean water is a big contributor to a lot of illness around the world, and it's linked to poverty. So physical circumstances is what you can see, what you can touch, what you can or cannot taste, right? If your food is contaminated or polluted or dirty, that's a physical circumstance. When it says it is linked to a lack of income or just sufficiently ensure people's basic needs, that's what you were talking about earlier when you said, or somebody said in the chat, when you spend more than half your money on food and water and your house, right? That's a version of poverty. Even if you make a lot of money, if you spend a lot of money, for me, for example, I live in Spokane. It's very affordable here. I could get an apartment, a nice apartment, for like $350 US dollars, which is great. That's a good price for anywhere in the USA or Canada. But if I wanted to live in Seattle, you know, where the Seahawks play. I mean, it's fun to drive over there for the weekends and get a hotel or something, but if I wanted to live there, I would have to pay like $2,000 for the same apartment because the cost of living is so much higher. So you can still make a lot of money, but it's all going to your bills, to your insurance, your healthcare, your food, your house. So even if you make a bunch of money, it can go away quickly. So that's a version of poverty that we're talking about here. And Aaron makes a good point. His sentence says, it's not a visible problem because we mostly live in apartments in our country, so we do not talk much and communicate with neighbors. Yeah, you don't know what happens behind those closed doors, your neighbors. Maybe they have very little food, or maybe they have tons of food. It's difficult to see directly the situations of our neighbors and our friends if it's not an open community space. Okay, so Rosa says she was practicing her pronunciation. Good work. Awesome. Very good. I'm just making sure I get to everybody's questions here. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too, Rosa. Stop the video, rewind it, play it again, hear the pronunciation. That's very good. Oh my gosh, Aaron, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, yeah, I think you should write all these ideas. I agree with Rosa in your homework. We only have a few minutes left of class, so I want to kind of speed ahead a little bit, talk just a bit more about reading strategy, and then give our premium subscribers their homework and try to set up a group chat for everybody too. So, balance between money that we earn and money we spend. That's what's less visible in developed countries. So here's an example, and we looked at this last week, where you see acronyms in parentheses. If we're given acronyms, we should learn what they mean. Take note of it. So also, I think Chari and Rosa and a few other people were saying, what do you mean by layout, the format of the writing? Sometimes you will see this. Indentations or bullet points in textbooks or online publications like our curricula. This is something you will sometimes see in academic writing. All right. Here's a chart that talks about specific numbers. This is what makes academic writing academic. I could tell you my opinion all day long, and it doesn't really mean much if I can't back it up with facts, statistics, numbers, data. When you work in academics or in business, it's all about research and learning the truth, right? Learning what the world is really like. So doing this data. A lot of people wouldn't think that there's a lot of poverty in Canada or the US because if they only hear one number, like how much money someone makes, if I made $2,000 a month in Seattle, it would not be the same as if I made $2,000 a month here. It would be better for me to make it in Spokane because food is less expensive, housing is less expensive, everything's less expensive. So unless we really think about the problems, we don't fully understand the big picture. It's okay to have not done your homework yet, Aaron, but maybe you can send it to me later. You can work on it. Okay. So, yes, Rosa did finish her homework. Thank you for that, by the way, Rosa. Chari, I know an hour is not enough. I know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the Hangout for our premium subscribers after the chat or after our class. And you guys can continue to discuss. I won't be able to be there this time, but I'll let all the students talk about it, and then you'll get your homework videos from me later. Okay. You guys are doing great on the chat today. So we're learning these strategies, right? We're looking for numbers, years, acronyms. Anything that's in quotations is probably important in academic writing. So if you are a premium subscriber, I'd like you to try to go through this reading again, review your answers from any homework you have, and then let me know what questions or if there's any definitions you want me to go into more detail about. So I'm going to set up that group chat for our premium subscribers. And, oh, Rosa, you're not going to be able to join. I'm sorry. Next time you can. And you guys can continue to chat in here a little bit and talk about some of these strategies, or share any reading strategies that you have or you want to discuss. Our plan is we're going to continue on the topic of poverty. We have class again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we've talked about listening and reading on this subject. We're going to review and continue to research this subject. And then next week, we're going to start writing an essay about this topic. So I'll talk about essay writing strategies, and our premium subscribers, you can start writing your essays next week. And I'll give you good, thoughtful feedback on those. Abdullah, hi, you're just getting here. Class is almost over. You're gonna have to rewind and watch it again. All right. Okay. Yeah, so Aaron, you just joined the class last week. So I will, I'll send you a short video showing you how to submit the homework, but it's very easy. And I think you'll like the feedback that we give. I'll take my time and I'll work with whatever skills you want to improve in your English. So if you want to improve writing skills or reading skills or just build your academic vocabulary, we'll work on that together. All right, Yusuf, hi. Yes, you are here. Good. So if you're a member of the class as a premium subscriber, hang out for a minute. I'm going to set up that chat and then I'll share it with everybody. And if you're not a premium subscriber and you want to learn how to become one, I will share this lovely link with you. And you can sign up. Yep, and for all of our students, reach out to us on Facebook. I'll send you my Facebook link. You guys can add me on there. I'll be a friend. There you go. So add me as a friend. I try to chat on Facebook sometimes, but it can be difficult because there's thousands of students all over the world that I try to chat with. But if you have any questions about Smart Live classes, you can also email Zach. He's an awesome guru, wizard. His email is zach@smartenglish.com. Yusuf, thank you. I appreciate it. I try to be a good teacher. So yeah, add me on here. And if you guys want information about how to come study here in Spokane with me or with Nicole or Neil or Abby, who you haven't even got to meet, some of you yet, you should definitely check it out. Our website is usa-english.com. Spokane is a very fun, peaceful, quiet, but also busy city. I mean, it's not huge. It's about 500,000 people, and it's very affordable. Rent is not expensive at all, and there's tons of good restaurants. Oh my gosh, I love the restaurants in this city. So you should definitely think about coming and studying here with us. You are very, very welcome. Thank you, Sol. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Nitesh. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, everybody. So glad to have you guys here. Chari, as always, thank you. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Isabella, hello, how are you? Thank you for coming by. All right. Okay, so I gotta go, but I will see you guys tomorrow. And like I said, hang out, premium subscribers. We'll get you in a chat real quick, and you guys can just continue to talk about the subject of poverty, meet each other, through video, and we'll get to see your lovely smiles. You guys get to see mine all the time. I only get to see a few of yours. So if you haven't signed up to be a premium subscriber, do that. It's free for the first month. You might as well. Anyway, thank you again. I appreciate everything. And I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? Have a good day. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.